Every issue has two sides. Most shows pick one. We argue both. Not for clicks, not for comfort, but because the truth loves tension between ideas, power, and the people they affect. This is Mike and Nick. Left versus right. 30 minutes, no talking points. No safe takes. No holds barred. Let's go.
Let's go. Hey.
Nick, how's the summer been treating you?
It just came and went. What can I say?
I know.
It's been a busy summer, but I can't say that I fully took advantage of the beautiful weather.
You're too busy.
Too busy. But it happens sometimes.
Well, you know, you've built yourself.
I think, you know why? Because Canadians are suffering, and that's what it's all about.
Well, I think the nation needs to hear from us because it was a big week. It was a week ago today. Yeah. A week ago today that we learned that the trade negotiations, Canada versus USA, that Mark Carney had called back the negotiators to Ottawa and that there was no deal. I think we need to hear from you, Nick Ioannis. Update us what happened, and then we need your thoughts on where we're at.
Well, I mean, we're talking about it now, right? It's not just me.
Well, I'm here too.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal, in my opinion. It doesn't help Canadians not having a deal. It adds a lot of uncertainty within Canada. A lot of businesses don't know what to do, don't know where to go. Uncertainty is probably the biggest economic killer out there. I was optimistic. We had some good announcements from Carney for the HST. We actually saw it in our industry that the low-rise market substantially had a ton of sales, which is fantastic for our market. But after this, you don't know what's going to happen, and uncertainty is just a killer for the economy. So it's not good. And everybody, we all know that the majority of Canadians hate Trump, but that doesn't really help us. And so where I sit is that there were some reasons given, but we haven't. I'm with Poilievre calling out the Prime Minister to share the details of what deal was on the table. What did we actually walk away from? Because, I'm not going to believe what the U.S. is saying because I'm Canadian. I should believe my own government. And I seriously want to see that deal, the way it was written, why we walked away. I would say we heard the Prime Minister talk about it. And it's not like I don't believe him. It's just like, why can't we see what that deal was? What's the problem? And I think if we're asked as Canadians to suffer as a result of no deal, then we should know what we exactly walked away from so that we all can be fully united in this cause. And I'm okay with fighting for Canada, but I really, really, really want to see what the truth was.
I have much to say about all of that, but let me just begin by asking you a straight-up question, Nick Ioannis. You're a business owner. You're a businessman. Would you rather have a bad deal than no deal with the United States at this time?
No, I don't think anybody should take a bad deal at all. But how do we know that what we had on the table was a bad deal? Unless it's shown.
Well, let me speak to that really quickly. Firstly, it sounds like you just don't trust what the Prime Minister is saying because he said, and then we'll get to that specific point.
We're already hearing other people say that it wasn't true.
But then we also heard the president basically recall that.
But let's get it on the table.
Okay, so
I mean, opposition parties in Canada are asking about that. Why not? Why shouldn't you just say, here, this was the deal, we walked away from it?
I actually did quite a bit of reading. They spoke.
But let me ask you that.
Well,
what's the big deal?
Because it would hurt Canada's negotiation position.
What negotiate? We don't have any negotiation position anymore.
Well, we're still negotiating, right?
No, we're not.
Well,
nobody's talking.
No, but for example, the French language issue. It seems
nobody's talking about anything, though.
Right, but let me just speak to what Prime Minister said, and then I'll speak to the pros and cons of actually releasing the text of what the agreement was that the federal government walked away from, what they rejected here. So, Mark Carney said that Trump wanted to restrict our sovereignty by having influence over like what countries we could make deals with. And when I hear that, I think about making us Belarus to their Russia.
There's the problem right there. You're just relying on someone saying what they're saying.
Well, not the Prime Minister.
Yeah, the Prime Minister of Canada. He's phrasing it that way. But was it that way?
So you're saying
the devil is in the details.
Let's release the agreement so Canadians can see what was rejected.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
But as a business negotiator, yeah. Go ahead.
I have no issues if we walked away from a deal that was shit. And I don't know if I can say that online, but I just did. Shit.
You can say shit.
Deal,
this is a podcast, Nick. Say shit.
I know I said shit. I normally don't. If it was a bad deal, then of course we should walk away from it.
But I know you've negotiated many a deal in your life, many a contract
That's right.
at Fusion Corp. Okay. So I have read from experts that the CBC talked to many experts, and there was an expert who did say what you're saying, which said the true level of transparency, if you want to unite this nation, is to release the text. Let us see the specifics of the deal that was rejected. But multiple experts said if you release the specifics of the deal that was rejected, it ultimately hurts Canada's negotiation position. And I think
it does not. No,
well,
I mean,
I'm speaking.
No, it doesn't.
I only read what the experts said, right?
Yeah, because they're a bunch of cowards and morons.
Really? Okay.
It's a joke. It's a fucking joke. First of all, we have no negotiation power right now. Okay. You know what? This is just too much. Just get the stupid thing out there so Canadians can all be united with the Prime Minister, with Canada. Because you know what? There are a lot of people who don't believe Carney. And, I just feel like I don't see a big deal. Just release the document. I would do it.
But would you admit that Mark Carney is in a unique position to maybe be more of an expert on these negotiations than Nick Ioannis? Is that possible?
I don't know, because he hasn't released the document.
Right. Okay. So you agree with Pierre Poilievre, who wants to...
I mean, is there a political game being played in here? Here's another thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so there were restrictions on future deals. I'd like to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Auto sector terms that were unacceptable. There was this issue with French language protections. There was the Canadian cultural policy issue. There was other things like critical minerals, tariff relief. So at the end of the day, there's all these issues. What did we walk away from? It's easy for me to say, if someone gave me a contract and I said, no, I won't agree to this. It's easy for me to say. I show the line, I cross it out, and I say no.
Right.
And I think we need to see that deal.
So
because we're going to be taking a hit, and there's going to be a retaliation, and then another retaliation on top of retaliation, because Trump, how he is. And I don't think it's good for the country. And I'm going to tell you something else.
Yes, please.
First of all, they should recall Parliament as well. There's nothing wrong with that. They should debate this. There's this woman in the Canadian government who is, I believe, the COO, and she's like a U.S. citizen. Why is that woman in our government? And she's supposed to advise on U.S. policy. Is there some kind of is there some kind of thought that at the end of the day we're negotiating past the midterms to see if we can get a better deal? It's a big risk and a big gamble. Because guess what? The President of the United States has a veto power. Congress can pass anything they want, but the President can always veto it, and he will. There's no question about it.
But Nick, it's more about tariffs, right? Like, so the big weapon, the only weapon it seems that Donald, well, that, and we'll talk about name changes, but tariffs. So, Donald Trump signed some executive order or whatever. We're doing tariffs. There's 50% now on hundreds of Canadian imports. This just happened already. We retaliate. But if the House, if the Senate goes to the Democrats, then they can rein in this these tariffs, right? Because in theory, because
they're gonna first of all, they're gonna agree. They're not gonna all agree. Second of all, when a bill is passed in the Congress, it goes to the president for signing. He just vetoes it. He's not going to sign it.
But it's more about the tariffs, right?
Because you know what? If he actually loses the midterms, he's not going to give a shit about anything. You watch. It's going to get worse. So, there's this hatred for Trump, and you know what? That's okay. People can hate him. But at the end of the day, you don't have to agree with his tactics. They are brutal tactics. Because I've been in a situation where you don't have a lot of options. And someone sends you, you can tell they're being just jerks and assholes and predatory. And that's what Trump has been doing. Okay? It's not a great way to negotiate. A nice, you sit down, nice, make a deal. That's the best way to do it. That's the way I do things. But you're not dealing with that type of person. And I don't know where this all is going, and it's a big risk. And I think there's a lot of, you look at Mexico. Mexico's not doing that. Let's see if Mexico gets a deal out of all this now. She's been very quiet, and she hasn't said anything bad about Trump. And she's given in on some concessions as well. But Mexican President Claudia, what is it, Sheinbaum? They may make a deal with the United States. And how is Canada going to feel after that? So I think this hatred towards Trump is really graying everything, and I think it's clouding people's vision. And I just want to see, I'm all for fighting against fairness. But if we don't know exactly what we walked away from, then we're going to be, you're not going to get everybody on your side.
Fair point, but
you're not going to be able to rally Canadians fully.
Fair point, but what do you say about the fact that right now Canadians are overwhelmingly supporting Mark Carney in this trade dispute? It's overwhelming. If there were an election next week, it would be a massive majority.
I honestly don't care. I'm not one of them. I would be supportive if he just releases the document. That's it.
Okay, but it is fair to say, to disclose, that you've always had a soft spot for Donald Trump.
No. Who told you that?
I heard a rumor, Nick, that you're within reason, you're not so anti-Trump like most Canadians.
Well, you know what? Whether someone likes Trump or doesn't like Trump.
Okay, but here, so let me ask you.
It's nothing to do with that. I'm looking at this issue objectively. It has nothing to do with liking or hating or this or that.
Okay.
We need a deal. You can agree on that. We need a deal.
But we need a fair deal. We should not sign a bad deal for Canada.
I agree.
Right. So you're saying just let me see it because you don't trust Carney. But if you saw it,
no, it's not about not trusting, but we should be skeptical about of our government. Okay. We should.
Fair point. But I want to speak to this. So let's say you see the deal and you say, oh, Carney was right to take the tell the negotiators to walk away and come to Ottawa. Then isn't the best play to just let time ride until midterms and see what changes then?
Because there's a lot of Canadians are going to suffer in the meantime.
But it's a bad deal. I personally.
That's okay. But how do you know that? You don't know. You haven't seen.
But I'm saying, assuming you see the deal and agree with Mark Carney, it's a bad deal for Canada. Then what?
Okay, then you should get right back to the negotiation table.
But you're negotiating with a lunatic.
That's okay.
And
You're
it's
gonna
okay,
have
but
to
why would you trust any deal?
But you're going to have to negotiate with him anyways. You need to close this off. You need to get this thing done.
Do you know what
And
the
honestly,
Iran?
I don't know why they walked away either. Why did you withdraw? What's that going to do?
Well, there was a deadline, right? There was an ultimatum. Trump.
Okay, there was an ultimatum. Yeah, but you don't have to withdraw your trade delegation. You go and you keep negotiating.
Okay, now let's assume things change after the midterms. Isn't this the move? Iran and the negotiators, they're basically like, we're not making any deal with this idiot until he's gone.
This is a political play, and I'm going to say this: it's a political play, and yes, it might hurt Trump, but in the end, most of the time, nobody wins the midterms anyways. So he may lose the House, he may lose the Senate. That's normal. He did it. I think that happened on his previous term, or he had the Senate. He didn't.
Well,
have
it happened
the House.
to Obama. It happens. You're right. It happens.
It happens everywhere. Yeah.
Okay, so time will tell. Now, if it's a bad deal for Canada, you agree with me that we should not sign.
Should stand it. Yes, 100%.
Okay, and I think you agree that amongst the majority, the overwhelming majority of Canadians, this resistance is very popular.
Like what resistance?
Like this,
Trump?
the fact that Mark Carney is resisting this bully to the south and refusing to make a bad deal for our sovereign nation of Canada. That is a popular sentiment with the majority of Canadians coast to coast.
You know what? It's a short-term win for.
But yes or no, yes or no, Mr. Aini's, like that. You will agree that you're in the minority
I don't really care about. Really all I care about is a deal. Is getting Canadians get rid of this uncertainty so that the economy, people can move forward, people can move on.
Now
that's it.
Can I ask you about the man that you're?
I think I don't know whether that was the right move because time will tell whether it was the right move or not. Because you know what? In the meantime, are Canadians going to suffer?
Yes.
Are businesses going to suffer?
Yes.
So he's asking a lot for something that we just don't know about. And I think it's the transparency has to be there. I'll repeat myself. The transparency has to be there.
I hear you. And I respect that outlook without a doubt here. But I think for the majority of Canadians, it's more important to protect our sovereignty than...
But what sovereignty? What's he doing to our sovereignty?
Well, that's what you want to see, the details.
But
it was suggested that America would have influence over which countries we could make deals with. And let's face it, if you're a sovereign nation, you make deals with any country you want.
Someone also wrote in that it already exists in Kuzma anyways. I've seen posts like that's the thing. I don't know what to believe because some people post something and they said, well, there are restrictions already. Now, I don't know, and I'm not going to claim that I know all those details, but if there is something unreasonable about Canada's ability to make trade deals with other countries, we need to see that. It has to be very clear to us.
Now, if you may, before we say goodbye, because this is all...
saying goodbye?
We're not saying goodbye. I said before we say goodbye. This is all unfolding rapidly, and we will have to record another Mike and Nick as these things progress, because I need to check in and see what you're thinking about all this stuff. And I know you're dying to know my thoughts on all this stuff. But this man, you say it hurts us. Why do we hate this man? Hating this man, I'm talking about Donald Trump right now, is it's not a smart thing for Canadian. I don't know. I can't remember your words, but you're like, the hate gets in the way because he's...
Clouds your judgment. It's an emotional issue. Okay. There's you don't have to like people that you do business with, but sometimes you have to do business with them. You have no choice.
Well, we don't have to.
You can hate them, or you can just focus on what you need to do to get what's best for Canadians.
Right. I just want to point out that as recently as yesterday, the President of the United States had a global temper tantrum, if you will, and signed an executive order to rename Lake Ontario Lake America. Nick, what are your thoughts on that?
It's retarded. It's completely stupid.
It's stupid.
So, yes. And so was Doug Ford being stupid. And he says a lot of stupid things, again, because of, emotional... people are getting heated over the subject, and he's supposed to be the premier of Ontario. he should curb his words. We don't need to have a tit for tat with Trump. And look what happened.
Well, Carney has asked the premiers
he did a renaming of a Lake Ontario, which is also ridiculous. And Olivia Chow was on CNN, and she sounded completely foolish as well. That we should just cut the electricity from the Americans. All these things are just escalations that, without careful consideration of what's going to happen next.
But I agree with you on this front. I agree with you that the premiers, and especially mayors, like, we need to let the federal government control this messaging. And I know Mark Carney asked the premiers, don't provoke Trump. And Doug Ford did what Doug Ford does, because Doug Ford and Donald Trump cut from a similar cloth. They're both kind of like schoolyard bullies, right? They're going to bark at you or whatever. And that I agree, that doesn't help. But when we watch the president of the United States rename Lake, think about it for a moment, just digest that, because it means nothing to us. They can call it whatever the heck they want. But the fact that this grown man, this 80-year-old man, retaliates by, it's like taking back my ball. Oh, you beat me in basketball? Well, I'm taking my ball, I'm going home. It is such a childish action. I wouldn't tolerate it from my toddler, Nick.
Yeah, but I didn't. I agree. I said that it's really retarded. All of this is very stupid.
Yeah, stupid's a better word. Okay.
Yeah, all of this is very stupid. So, I mean, I agree.
But that's the man. That's the man you want us to respect and negotiate with. I just find it interesting that you're telling us all, oh, don't hate this guy. It clouds your judgment. In the meantime, he's a big baby who's doing childish antics.
We should not be focused on him. Like, that's the problem. Do a deal. Like, just focus on the deal. That's it.
I'm surprised to hear you go at Doug Ford. I thought you were a Doug Ford supporter, but you don't like this kiss my ass.
I've seen Doug Ford. He's very cowboyish, which is one thing that I don't like about him.
But you like Trump, who's he's the biggest.
I never said I like Trump.
Okay, I'm sorry for putting words in your mouth. I'm sorry for putting words in your mouth. You seem so sympathetic to the man.
Well, I just think it's like, I've seen this happen on many occasions. Doug Ford walking back a lot of issues all the time. Now, I'm not a anti-Doug Ford. I mean, there's probably a lot of good things that I would say that he's doing.
Do tell.
I certainly don't like Olivia Chow. I'll tell you that.
Well, we know you're a big Brad Bradford supporter.
People do. Yeah.
Right.
She's completely, sorry to say, but she's pretty much useless.
Can I get a prediction from you? We will talk before the municipal election in Toronto. Of course, we will have another Mike and Nick. We'll probably have a few more by then. But as we sit here, August 28, 2026, what are your feelings about the mayoral race?
Well, I honestly think that Brad needs to win because he's the best candidate for the job. And if Mayor Chow gets back in there, it's going to be just it's going to be really bad. Really bad.
But what is your prediction?
You cut me off. Prediction is that it's too close to call. What are the polls saying right now? Do you know?
Yeah, Chow's got a little lead. I don't know, about 8 to 10 points over Chow. I think the issue. Sorry, I said that wrong. Chow's over Brad. Brad's issue is that there's somebody taking up 8 to 10 points himself, named Chris Alexander. I think if Chris Alexander had removed his name from the ballot, it would have really helped Brad Bradford.
Well, he needs to get out.
Too late. He can get out, but he's going to be on the ballot because it's too late to remove yourself from the ballot.
Pledge his votes to Brad Bradford. Tell his supporters to vote for Brad.
Yeah, that you're assuming everybody's dialed in, which is untrue.
He's a complete idiot.
Well, you're no idiot.
All I'm going to say is that, you know what? People need common sense. We need to see transparency from our government. And you know what? Let's move on so we can all be behind Carney. Let's do it. I think it's a good thing. Show us the deal so we can all be behind you.
You're warming me up to it.
Yeah, and if there's this thing going on where this is a game and it's a negotiation game or a negotiation strategy, it's very risky. Could backfire significantly, and Canadians pay the price.
Well, Nick, thank you for this. We'll touch base again in a couple of weeks. I need to take your temperature. And thank you for listening to Mike and Nick, Left versus Right. Please share, like, and subscribe, and we will see you again in 2 weeks.
Or